Today we're going to look at the B4069, which runs between Lyneham and Chippenham. The entry on sabre-roads.org.uk is relatively short, so we're going to be looking at a planning application appeal as well, which looks into the traffic conditions on the B4069. The B4069 is a winding B road in North Wiltshire. The road was part of the A420 for many years, but gained its present number in the late 1980s. The road starts at a roundabout on the A3102 on the northern edge of Lyneham. It heads northwest out of town before going over a ridge and then descending steeply into the valley of the River Avon. We go over the disused Wilton Berks Canal and then the railway line from Swindon to Chippenham. Just as it appears we're going to reach the M4, the road bends round to the left and runs parallel to the motorway, about half a mile from it. We skirt the northern edge of Christian Malford, then cross the Avon to go through Sutton Benger. Back in open country, the road bends to the left on meeting the B4122, and now heads almost southwards. We pass the isolated St. Peter's Church in Langley Burrell, and then skirts the western edge of that village. It's not long before we reach the outskirts of Chippenham. We enter town along Langley Road, cross a roundabout, and end on a one-way loop on the A420. Now we're going to look at a planning appeal in respect of land to the north and east of Barrow Farm in Chippenham, looking at the traffic on the B4069. So the primary author of the planning appeal is Dr. Rachel Hooper, resident of Langley Burrell since 1996. In her appeal, she says that she has been supported in this effort by a team of residents of the village representing the villagers who will be significantly impacted in their everyday lives if this development goes ahead. I will now narrate through the planning appeal. Paragraph 1.2 in the introduction. We have faced considerable challenges in putting together our case. None of us are legal professionals, and we have very little experience in participating in processes like this. I hope all parties will bear our first-time status in mind. Equally, we will try to hold ourselves to the customs and rules of the process. We are mindful of our obligation to provide objective evidence to this hearing. Our evidence is largely non-technical and is more qualitative than quantitative in nature. However, we strive to give evidence behind all our assertions, and we speak from a position of great expertise about the experience of living in Langley Burrell village. A fundamental objection to this planning application is that it would have an unacceptable impact upon the tranquil nature of this part of the countryside. The setting of listed buildings at Maud Heath Causeway, as well as its relationship to the nearby villages of Langley Burrell and Kington Langley. We believe the proposal is therefore contrary to the provisions of policies CP10, CP51, CP52 and CP58 of the Wiltshire Core Strategy 2015, the NPPF, as well as sections 16.2 and 72.1 of the Planning, Listed Building and Conservation Act of 1990. In this proof, we put the case that the increased traffic on the B4069 has not been sufficiently modelled in the face of multiple proposed developments and many potential issues. if the development is approved. A better alternative would be to make the primary access point through the Northern Distributor Link Road, or the NDL. Traffic on the B4069. This proof focuses on the impact the Barrow Farm development will have on the B4069. We are ever mindful of the fact that while we are trying to present evidence in the format required by this process, we are not experts in transport planning. We are trying to reflect our genuine day-to-day experience of using this road and roads in the area. This proof will cover the following points: the B4069 / the Mould Heath Junction, the cumulative development impact on traffic on the B4069 south of the Mould Heath Junction, roundabout access from the development onto the B4069, other issues with the B4069, and access off the NDL. We start with the B4069 and Mould Heath Junction. Of specific concern for the residents, in all the evidence produced for this planning application, there is no modelling of the impact of the additional traffic from the development on the junction of the B4069 and Mould Heath's causeway through the village of Langley Burrell. This junction serves not only Langley Burrell, but also a large hinterland, including Peckingell, Kellaways, Avon, East Titherton, Titherton Lucas, Foxham and Charlcote, being variously the shortest way to Chippenham or the M4. The Q-length modelling on page 39 of the Transport Assessment stops at the proposed Barrow Farm junction. We commissioned our own assessment of traffic flow through this junction at Appendix G. We believe this is indicative of about 230 vehicles per peak period per day, trying to turn both into and out of this junction into the increasingly busy B4069. Our experience is that year on year it gets more difficult to turn through this junction because of the volume of traffic already on the B4069. The implementation of a 50 mph speed limit has produced some small improvement, but the volume of traffic, especially at peak times, means waits to turn out of Mould Heath's causeway, south onto the B4069, and north on the B4069 turning into the causeway are noticeably lengthening. We are very concerned that, with the additional traffic from this development and all the others being considered in this short length of road, the efficiency of this junction will reduce. The natural rise and bend of the road north of this junction and any queuing created on the southbound B4069's plethora of new junctions will mean that rash decisions made under pressure of time to turn left out of or right into the causeway will significantly increase the risk of accidents at this junction. We look at the cumulative development impact on traffic on the B4069 south of the Mould Heath junction. We make no claim to technical knowledge on traffic modelling, but express our concern that the modelling has been carried out has failed to consider the cumulative impact of all the potential developments that will directly impact the B4069. We question if enough detail has gone into the transport assessment for the B4069 in particular. In the immediate area, we currently have proposals for the following. 1. An expansion of the workforce and the HGV traffic at Wavins. 2. The North Chippenham Consortium development. 3. The Barrow Farm development. 4. The Rawlings Green development. 5. Plans for Langley Park, including residential, retail, and light industry use. 6. A northern distributed link road. We cannot see that the Waven expansion and Langley Park development have been included in the model. So based on the planning proposals currently under discussion, in the 1,000 metres between the B4069 Maltheath Junction and the B4069 Birch Grove Junction in North Chippenham, drivers, cyclists and pedestrians will face the following. 1. The new Barrow Farm roundabout. 2. The new NDL roundabout through the North Chippenham development. 3. A revised access for HGVs from Wavens. 4. The existing Hill Corner Road junction. 5. The new Cocklebury Link Road scheme, extending the NDL. 6. The existing Pew Hill mini roundabout. 7. A new double roundabout outside Langley Park and Birch Grove. Based on all of the above factors, we do not think that the paramix modelling results at Section 5 of the Transport Assessment are likely to be representative of the real case for the following reasons. 1. There is no inclusion into the calculation of the function of the B4069 Maltheath Causeway Junction. 2. Two localised but significant traffic inputs from Wavens Growth and Langley Park development have been omitted. 3. The model creates a break along this length of the road. It measures as Route 8 the B4069 between Eastern Link Road and B4122, and 10 the B4069 Langley Road between Eastern Link Road and B4158 Malmesbury Road. A simple additive calculation of routes 8 and 10 suggests that morning southbound journey times across all three models might exceed thresholds. We believe that if the paramix model included the stretch from point 5/6 in the village dataset, i.e. the eastern end of the village, through to the B4158 Malmesbury Road at Hathaway Retail Park, included the proposed growth of Waven and the Langley Park development, and all the new junctions along the route, there would be a severe increase in many of the model journey times. We would like to see these conditions modelled. In our opinion, the cumulative effects of the developments listed above on traffic levels on the B4069 will significantly impact the safe and effective use of this road for drivers using both the B4069 Maltheath Causeway Junction and the length of road south of this junction. There seems to have been no modelling done to support or disprove our position. Now turning to the roundabout access from the development onto the B4069. We interpret the reason a roundabout has been pulled into the development site is in order to achieve the appropriate deflection on the approaches to the junctions. This creates a major realignment on the B4069. One of our concerns is the fact that most of the hedgerows on the west side of the B4069, south of the Maltheath Causeway Junction, will need to be removed to allow the roundabout to be constructed, along with visibility requirements at footways and street lighting. This will have a severe impact on the rural characteristics of the B4069 Maltheath Causeway, as well as the environmental and ecological issues resulting from the loss of mature hedgerows. Our second concern is that realignment of the eastern pavement also represents realignment of Maltheath's Causeway. Although this is nowadays only visible in the pavement edging, it is nevertheless a well-known historical feature of this stretch of roads. We'd now like to cover other difficult points on the B4069. We believe there has been insufficient modelling and assessment of the impact of additional traffic on the whole length of the B4069 between the Hathaway roundabout and junction 17 of the M4. This is a rural B road with few major junctions, but many direct turnings from properties. It twists and turns in a number of notable points and is already a challenging and busy road to drive along. If traffic enters the B4069 near Chippenham, then a large majority of it will then travel along the entire stretch of the B4069 to junction 17. The whole stretch of road should therefore be considered in respect of the impact from all proposed developments. We note and support the concerns expressed by the residents of Kington Langley about the junction with the road leading through their village. Figure 3.3 of the Transport Assessment records the 4 accidents on the B4069 in Kington Langley. We would extend these concerns to 3 other sites along the B4069 in particular. 1. The Stein Brook Dip. This is the bend and dip immediately to the north on the parish church and intersected by Jackson's Lane and the driveway of a domestic property. This is a very narrow, curving and descending stretch of road with steep banks on both sides and overshadowed by woodland. It is passable with relative ease when there are smooth flows of vehicular traffic, save for the geometry and sudden changes in light conditions. However, with no pavement and no margin at all to the road between the banks, if a pedestrian or cyclist is encountered in this stretch, there is an immediate challenge to all road users, as rapid braking is the only option for vehicles. Figure 3.3 of the Transport Assessment records 1 pedestrian accident in this area. Any increase in traffic and pedestrian cyclist use of this stretch will only increase the number of conflicts in the area. The new boundary to the urban area would bring the very narrow pavementless dip in the B4069 at Stern Brook into closer proximity for more pedestrians and cyclists. We would encourage the inspector to closely observe this stretch of road with a view to the traffic it affords non-vehicular road users in particular. If the development is built, more pedestrians and cyclists will need to traverse the stretch of road in order to create many circular routes, possibly encouraged there by the northern emergency exit from the development. The Sutton Benger corner, where the B4069 divides to go either into Draycott Kern up to junction 17 or continue through Sutton Benger, is a well-known trouble spot. Local experience, again supported by Kington Langley PC, is that cars frequently misjudge the corner and overshoot into the hedge to the northeast of the junction. More pertinently, it is getting increasingly congested and difficult to turn either from the motorway right onto the B4069 and from Sutton Benger right towards the motorway. Other than the turning in Kington Langley and to private properties, there are no options for traffic once north of the B4069 Moorteeth Junction to do anything but drive through Sutton Benger corner in the same direction. We believe that the impact of increased traffic from all the developments proposed to the north or Chippenham should be carried out on this junction. The road between the Household Recycling Centre and the growing Draycott Lorry Park. When viewed from the motorway, the Council Salt Depot at the Household Recycling Centre have entry-exit turnings on the left and outside of the sweeping right-hand bend. The lorry park has a turning almost directly opposite on the inner right inside of the turn. Critically, because of the geometry and hedgerow, the lorry park is mainly hidden from view when travelling both north and south. Not only does significant queuing occur on most mornings before the HRP opens, but during the day the operators of the HRP frequently close the gates, creating impromptu queues back onto the road, or demand and the pace of throughput in the HRC creates long queues in both directions. Cars coming south of the motorway on an otherwise open, free-flowing road with a 60-mile-per-hour speed limit frequently face a queue of stationary traffic in the main carriageway. A completely hidden turn for vehicles trying to exit the HRC. A queue of north-facing stationary traffic sitting on the central slip lane of the road, and large lorries and northbound traffic in the oncoming northbound lane. The potential for a traffic light system controlling traffic flow through Junction 17 will do nothing to improve this issue, and indeed has the potential to increase queuing back from the junction for northbound traffic, such that the situation becomes even more complex. Just as with Junction 17 situation, we accept that none of these issues are created exclusively by the proposed development. However, as currently configured with exits onto the B4069, the development will indisputably add more traffic pressure to this rural B road. We ask that a proper investigation of the impact increased traffic flow will have at all these points along the B4069 up to Junction 17 is completed before a decision is made on this development. Access off the NDL. The NDL will be a purpose-built distributor road designed to current standards and capable of servicing this additional capacity. The B4069 has none of these advantages. We understand there is a roundabout proposed on the NDL south of Barrow Farmhouse, and we believe the developers should create a new junction on the link road as indicated on the sketch below, and not exit directly onto the B4069. We think this alternative access arrangement will have many benefits. The traffic from the development would be shared east-west onto the B4069 and the A350 more evenly, avoiding severe impacts on any one road. The current layout places all the traffic onto B4069, where some of it will head south, then turn left onto the NDL unnecessarily, increasing movement through the new junction proposed at the B4069 NDL parsonage way. Another benefit of accessing the Barrow Farm development off the new link road is that it will be more fully integrated with North Chippenham scheme, and trips between the two proposals, for example to the education retail facilities, can be made with any additional trips on the B4069 or A350. The new North Chippenham scheme incorporates bus stops and presumably new bus routes. Therefore, a new access road with footways directly linking the two development proposals will provide easier access for pedestrians from the development to access bus stops at North Chippenham. It could also allow the scheme to be serviced by those same bus services visiting the North Chippenham scheme. We note that none of these new bus routes visit Langley Burrell village. We would also ask for protection by time, much like the arrangement being made at Junction 17 of the M4. The transport assessment provided by PFA for the North Chippenham scheme demonstrates that there is a need for the NDL to be in place prior to completion of that scheme in order to avoid severe impact on the B4069. We also understand that only a limited amount of the North Chippenham development is permitted off the A350 and or the B4069 before the NDL is completed. Therefore, if this proposal is permitted, we ask that it should also be subject to the same conditions requiring the NDL to be complete prior to any further development. So in summary, the B4069 Malteith Junction. In all the evidence produced for this planning application, we find no detailed modelling of the impact of the additional traffic from the development on the junction of the B4069 and Malteith Causeway. We are very concerned that, with the additional traffic from this development, the proper function of this junction at peak times will simply stall, with the obvious risk of drivers making impatient and imprudent decisions. The cumulative development impact on traffic on the B4069 south of the Moors Heath junction. We believe there are significant failures in the modelling to date to show the true impact of this development and others on transport through Langley Burrell village. There is no inclusion into the calculation of the function of the B4069 Moors Heath Causeway junction. Two localised but significant traffic inputs being omitted, being Wavens Grove and Langley Park, and the model creates a break along this length of this road, potentially reducing the cumulative journey time and queuing data for journeys from Langley Burrell village to B4069 Langley Road between Eastern Link Road and the B4158 Malmesbury Road. We would like to see this modelling data before a decision is made on this development. Roundabout access from the development onto the B4069. We believe the proposed roundabout on the B4069 creates unacceptable damage to the hedgerow and rural perspective of this stretch of road and creates an unnecessary diversion in the historic course of Moors Heath's Causeway. Other issues on the B4069. We believe there has been insufficient modelling and assessment of the impact of additional traffic on the whole length of the B4069 between the Hathaway roundabout and junction 17 of the M4. Traffic exists exiting this development, and any of the other developments have very few options other than to travel the whole of this road length. We have specific concerns about increased traffic through the Steinbrook Dip, Kington Langley Junction and Bends, the Sutton Benjer Corner, and the stretch between the Household Recycling Centre and Draycott Quarry Park. Access off the NDL. The NDL will be a purpose-built distributor road, designed to current standards and capable of servicing the additional capacity created by this development. The B4069 has none of these advantages. Therefore, it is the wish of the residents of Langley Burrell that, if the development is allowed to proceed, it should be accessed off the NDL and development of the site be limited until the NDL is operational and the access has been created.